Hello, everyone. My name is Dawn, and welcome to another episode of The Chamber Within. I hope you all had a good week, productive even. I actually did the task I mentioned in my last episode that I had been avoiding since November, so it was pretty good. And I'm glad to have gotten it out of the way finally. It was like a thorn in my side that I was avoiding. So I also hope you were able to move the needle in any way on your end as well. So today I wanted to talk about grief. Um, Kind of how it hit me this week. So I was speaking with a coworker, and she asked me, just out of the blue, if my mom was here, as in the same state that I'm in. And I told her that she was gone. Neither her nor my father are still alive. And this is my reality. So it was nothing for me to respond like that. But she was so sad to hear it. And then proceeded to tell me about her mom and her grandmother, even, who are both still alive, of course. I have not ever experienced having an active, coherent grandmother in my life. The only one that was alive was my father's mom, and she had Alzheimer's. She died when I was very young as well, so we didn't really have a relationship. Now, throughout my adult life, my 20s and 30s, I would grieve in a way that felt like jealousy for those who still had their parents. They were so lucky, and then I would immediately think about them experiencing the inevitable loss and pain of losing that parent one day. And that I don't envy at all. It's a very tough road, and I know that the type of relationship that you have with your parents plays a huge part in how that works itself out and how you cope. But I lost my mom just before my 20th birthday, and my father when I was 30. Now, I used to say that I feel like I'm experiencing life at an accelerated rate. It's a lot like taking an accelerated course. So, this is the same way that I feel I've been experiencing my spiritual awakening in an accelerated way. These parallels stick out like a sore thumb to me because of how painfully obvious they are. But grief for me was different because of how I had in the past had peaks beyond the veil, just little experiences here and there, all these years since I was about 12 years old, to be exact. I talk about it in my book, The Chamber Within, about how my grandfather, elder cousin, mother, and father all visited me after their passing and said their goodbyes in their own ways. So while I do have closure, that didn't mean I wasn't missing them. Their absence was and is still felt. So, although they weren't here with me, it just felt like they were very, very far away. As a practice, every year on their birthdays, I light a single candle and let it burn for a number of hours. And I think about them and go on about my day, but it's kind of like a way to have them actively remembered. Subtle, but I make sure I do it on their birthdays every year. Now, most recently, I'm not sure where I got this advice, but um, I was talking to my parents out loud. Now, since I don't do this often, I had approached this in a way of a debriefing. Like, a lot's happened since the last time we talked. And, I was just, it was late in the evening. I was about to go to bed, so I had to go to work, but with full on intention, I was speaking to my dad and updating him on the current state of my life, what year it was, how old I was, how my daughter was, who he had met. He actually helped me raise until she was 9. He would babysit for me and my ex husband often, and they just really liked hanging out with each other. So he got to meet her. My mother did not. But I was speaking with full on intention that he would receive my heartfelt message. Just an update, like I said, a debriefing. And after I was done, I shortly after went to bed and laid down. And the moment I was in a relaxed state and the thoughts had stopped, I began drifting off to sleep. I heard my father call out my name. It was my nickname, really, because he never really referred to me as Dawn. That would have been weird. But it was him. That loud, thunderous voice when he wanted to get my attention was heard loud and clear. And it freaked me out. Yes, with all of that I've experienced, I was still surprised. I wasn't frightened. I was actually just shocked that he responded so soon. I know when I reach out for help or guidance spiritually, it comes in due time, right? I give it time and it shows up right when it needs to. Um, but this was immediate. And to be 100% honest, I wasn't expecting a response. That's why I was surprised. So surprised because I just wanted to just speak my piece, let it be known, go to bed, and then go to work the next day. I did not intend or expect him to speak to me. Now, I will say this. My dad's energy is very much still of this place. Um, this was back in 2024, Sunday evening, January 9th. I timestamp a lot of things. Um, I'm a huge stickler about that, but with um, him saying goodbye to me in the way that he did that I wrote about, and then which was 2012, and then 12 years later, which was 2024, he responded the way he did. He seems very much still of this place, like very near. Um, and he was the only one that said goodbye to me while I was um, conscious, pretty much, when he had passed originally. So, what I want to say is, when I heard his voice, this was what's so interesting. It wasn't like he was in the room and I'm talking to you and you're hearing me in the way that you'd hear anyone else sharing the same space as you. It sounded like he was speaking to me over radio waves, like a walkie-talkie. And when you communicate using a walkie, you can hear the person's voice, but it's also accompanied by radio waves and that kind of static sound. So that's exactly what it sounded like. It was his voice, but it was accompanied with like I don't want to say a pitch. It was accompanied with that energy, like it's coming through radio waves. Um, so it was loud, kind of like uncomfortably loud, maybe 2 to 3 notches higher than I needed. And it was startling because it was very quiet in my room and it just came out of nowhere. And he just called my nickname out. Now, I love my father very much. And he would always say, "Tell the truth about me when I'm gone. I wasn't sweet and kind. I was a so and so and gave him what for." So, my softer translation for his words are thus. You can imagine what he really said, but I think that's perhaps why he's still is very much near. And he came to me without much stillness or deep meditation or anything. Like he's still very much of this density. And I think that's so on brand for him. It's funny to me. But it felt really good to know that um, when I sat down with full on intention to send a message, it was received. And all he needed to say was my name. And that's good. I don't need a whole conversation or anything like that. I am uh, I don't know. I don't know how I would have felt if he was like, "Hey, Dawn." Well, he doesn't call me Dawn, but if he was like, "Hey, everything's cool over here," or "I'm doing this," I don't know if I'd be ready for that. But I say all that to say this. The conversation I had with my coworker did trigger me, which was surprising. And I had to be honest with myself. I thought I was over the feeling of being left out of the cool kids club who got to grow up and be adults and keep their parents a little while longer. I would love to still have them here, of course, both of my parents, so that I could pepper them with questions, share my life, my daughter's life, and so on and so forth. I miss them dearly. And the truth is, it doesn't go away. We just get better at dealing with it. So I write and I talk to them, and sometimes they reach back. I gave my sister some advice because her daughter had passed in 2023. Um, and I said, she's like, I miss her every day. I said, honor her, wear her favorite color, or play a song that she likes, and to kind of embrace the impression that she left on you during her life, to let her, allow her to live on. Um, and I myself am going to take this advice seriously. I'm going to play more country music. My dad loved country music, so I'm going to play some of his faves. Um, I actually really like Patsy Cline. There's a movie called Sweet Dreams. There's a great movie. I can watch that a million times. It's about her life. She had a great voice, but I know all his faves because I had to listen to them. And so, just to fill the air and to have his, life be remembered, I'm going to do that. In addition to burning the candle on their birthdays. And as for my mom, now I hear her when I speak sometimes. And I feel her when I'm reaching for compassion and patience when I guide my own daughter. But I can also wear more purple, which was her favorite color, to have her presence felt as well. And that'll help me. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that because I was really surprised that after all of this, I still kind of felt left out. And I really wanted to share with you because I know I am not alone. So, my question is, do you have a practice to honor your loved ones that have passed? And how do you deal with the grief that you have in your life? Do you keep their memory alive by embodying a small character trait of theirs, even if it's just for an hour? I would love to hear it. And you can share that with me privately by messaging me at thechamberwithin@yahoo.com, or you can leave a comment on my YouTube channel. I thank you so much for listening and being with me this week. I hope you have a wonderful week ahead, and I'll talk to you later. Bye bye.